How's it going, people? I'm playing some more Living End today. I've been a little bit down in the dumps with Modern. I actually haven't been enjoying this deck as much since they unbanned Violent Outburst. I think part of the problem is there's too many non-blue cards in the deck now. So today I'm trying 3 Endurance Main because I actually haven't found it as important recently. Also, just I don't know why it's not showing numbers here, but Violent Outburst not being blue is actually kind of rough on the mana with cards like Subtlety, with cards like Force of Negation, and I took Commandeer out of the sideboard for the same reason. I'm trying the White Splash sideboard plan for Teferi and High Noon, as well as Kataki. I think Affinity is probably the best deck in Modern by a lot, and we don't really have a great plan to beat it. I'm like, yeah, you have Force of Vigor, Foundation Breaker, but going one for one with that deck kind of doesn't work out because they can still flood the board. We just want to try to hit like timely Urza sagas, and that's kind of the best thing we can do. Uh, but sometimes you can Kataki Wrath them, so we'll see. Maybe we can get something like that on video. Anyway, I think the rest of the deck's pretty stock. I'm up to 2 Striped Riverwinder because I think Solitude is a pretty good card right now, as well as the kind of the Boros land destruction deck. Anyway, let's see how it goes. All right, round number 1. This hand doesn't have a second mana, so I'm gonna mulligan. Well, I'm gonna keep this hand. Uh, this could go bad. I'm actually gonna put back, I think, Violent Outburst. That relieves me of having to go find red mana if I want a combo. I'll just reveal what I'm doing right away. Hopefully we get something here. Okay, I guess a Street Wraith is something. Alright, and now we're pretty much just sitting around waiting to draw lands. I could have shipped that hand, but I mean, if it got to 2 lands, this hand was pretty great. Well, it looks like we're up against either Affinity or Prowess. Either way, this Force of Negation should be alright. Do I even care about that? Yeah. Well, this doesn't kill me, whereas like next turn Weapons Manufacturing might. I usually say you should fire off Force of Negation on Tormod's Crypt or on Mox Opal, but because I'm so hapless right now, like my first Living End's probably just gonna have to be Board Wipe. I think I'm actually gonna let this resolve. And that's assuming I ever even get to 3rd mana, which I'm gonna kill the Mox Opal. There's a good chance I don't. And I think it's Colossal Sky Turtle, the pitch. I actually did have a bit of a hot streak against Affinity a month or 2 ago playing Bant, and it's because I kept just picking off Mox Opals and Tormod's Crypts on turn 1 like that. However, opponent has Emery. They've engineered Arcbound Ravager. This is going very poorly. And we can't even really take care of this Tormod's Crypt with Wistfulness if I did draw green, because they can sacrifice it before it exiles. Oh look, more pain. Okay, I'll take that. So there's nothing here that I can actually hit with Wistfulness, so I'm just going to hang on to it. I would like to pick off an Urza Saga next turn. It's not impossible for me to win a long game. It's not looking likely, but it could happen. So I don't just want to donate Wistfulness for no value. I mean, I could draw cards with it, but I can also just Surveil or draw cards with Waker. Okay, they're only going for Bauble. I don't know. I kind of think they should have just emptied our graveyard. I guess they're looking for lands, though. Engineered explosives. That's not too threatening at the moment. It's just a thought cast. I'm not gonna do anything about that at the moment. Or ever, because it's result. So I went outside. I made the mistake of going outside. I played golf a week ago. I got the worst allergies I've ever had in my life. So if I sound all snivelly and kind of hoarse, that's just what it is. I think I actually just want to surveil with a green-red land. Okay, subtlety wasn't the worst draw. I mean, I can exile engineered explosives. I'm just going to look for land number 3. Same rationale as before. I'm just going to take the forest. My reasoning being I want to keep Wistfulness around for Urza Saga. And I might just hardcast the Wistfulness if I draw running lands here. There we go. There's our target for Wistfulness. Now, of course, the opponent could cap a Cannoneer here, then I'd have to respond to that. Would I? Guess it would depend on how big they made it. Arcbound Ravageer. This isn't as bad as it used to be for us back when they could play a bunch of creatures and then sacrifice them in response to living end. They don't have that many creatures, and a lot of their creatures are artifact tokens that go away. I don't think they can quite kill me with Arcbound yet. 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Not close. That's assuming they want to sacrifice their stuff, which they don't. Alright, well, we're 1 land behind on being able to hardcast Wistfulness, unfortunately. And I don't want to leave up Subtlety because then they get 2 tokens out of their Urza Saga. They could also counter this. They don't. Okay, more thought casts for the opponent. I mean, I guess we're lucky these thought casts aren't Krangs or thought monitors or Kappa Cannoneers. Yeah, we're never beating Tormod's Crypt this game. I'm so happy I didn't force the first one. Now the thing is, their graveyard's actually pretty good. What? Oh my gosh, I have my finger resting on the 1 key. Nuts. Oh well. Well, instead of getting a land and a surveil, we actually just wastelanded ourselves. Sorry about that. I don't like Magic Online for a lot of reasons, and that's one of them. It looks like I'm out of fetchables to the opponent. Okay, Endurance actually fairly reasonable here. Maybe okay. I'm more concerned about getting the creatures out of their graveyard at the moment, and so I think I'll do that when they activate this Emery. They cast Pinnacle Emissary. That's okay, it can't do a lot of damage yet. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, so they're probably hit like a hard stop on their card draw when they hit a bunch of counter spells. Or they're just palming a bunch of cheap artifacts. They still do not have a weapons manufacturer in play. Go ahead and deny them that 1 card. And also get rid of Pinnacle Emissary and Arcbound Ravager. That's kind of nice. Now even if I live it and doesn't resolve, I've got an Endurance in play. I wonder if they're going to play Arcbound Ravager, if they're ever going to play like 1 Ink Moth Nexus. Alright, so I'm at 11. This is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. You know what? I don't want them to sacrifice Pinnacle Emissary. So I'm going to take this. I think if I block, they're incentivized to sack this Pinnacle Emissary. I'd rather take the damage than give them a Pinnacle Emissary right now. I can just do it anyway. That was dumb. I don't know. I was kind of hoping they wouldn't sack it yet. I mean, I feel very behind this game, so I don't know how much these matter. But I should have blocked. Alright, I'll try not to waste land with that one. Yeah, I should have attacked there with Endurance. But if they counter this, no, actually, the reason I didn't was because I talked about earlier. If they counter this living, then now I just don't even have. Although now they can just modular kill me, so I should have attacked. Arcbound Ravager basically can make any artifact creature huge. I can only block 1. Well, I can block 2 actually, but this one has flying. No, yeah, there's Rebuke. Okay. I've seen enough of this game. Okay, I'm gonna try Kataki package. For the first time on video, we will see how it goes. I personally don't have a lot of faith in it. I think they're going to put 1 munitions token in play and make me look stupid. But we'll see. Out can come things that don't matter as much. Obviously, Living End. And I suppose 1 Striped Riverwinder. Endurance because I'm already going to pitch a lot of cards to Force of Vigor, Force of Negation, etc. I'm going to keep my Force of Negation, and I have to keep munitions, weapons manufacturing off the table. Go ahead and shock in the breeding pool. Cast Pinnacle Emissary. Alright. Looks like they're going to hand dump here. Mox Opal's online. Just Claws of Gix. And they just sack their emissary. Rather than letting it go to exile. Strange. I think I would have just let it go to exile so I could cast it later. Let's see. Well, this was a bad fetch. I actually should have fetched with Generous Int. I'm gonna get the falls. I don't actually need red mana. Go Mistrise. And then I think I'm gonna use Waker of Waves here. Suboptimal fetching by me. Okay, there's Urza Saga. I guess I'll look for a Force of Vigor. It's Foundation Breaker. I'll take that. I already have Charlotte's Agent. And I think killing this Urza Saga is equally important as getting a Kataki online. And this also gives me something natural to do with my land drop next turn besides bolt my face, which is nice. If we can just avoid a Kappa Cannoneer, which it doesn't look like we can. Okay, so now I'm actually just going to race for Kataki. Unfortunately, the opponent... Alright, drew a less painful land. Unfortunately, the opponent has 3 mana sources. So they can keep Kappa Cannoneer plus 2 other artifacts. And honestly, I don't think this plan is very good. For this exact reason, how do I ever get rid of Kappa? I mean, I guess I can go up to 6 mana. But I'm not going to have time to go to 6 mana. Because I'm going to be dead from Kappa Cannoneer. This would cost 6. If I could draw Force of Vigor, I could pay 4 to exile it. Maybe they'll screw this up. Okay, so when it's all said and done, the opponent keeps Kappa Cannoneer, Mox Opal, Claws of Gix. I'm a little surprised they kept Claws of Gix. At least I can block the Kappa, though, for a turn. That's nice. And we did shut off Urza Saga in a way. Ooh, okay. Well, I have a couple choices here. I can Thundering Falls, evoke Foundation Breaker, or I can sink into Stupor, go to 13, and just cast it. If they don't draw an artifact, then they don't have a free attack with Kappa Cannoneer. I think I actually like that. And I want them to keep this Mox Opal around more than I want them to get something off this Urza Saga. I'm not targeting Kappa Cannoneer because it has Ward 4, although I can almost pay for it. Actually, in 2 turns I can. So next turn I can go Thundering Falls, and then I can Generous Ent, evoke Wistfulness. I say this plan does look like it has some legs because they can keep everything here. If they had not powered out a turn 2 Kappa, I would have just kind of destroyed them. So turn 2 Kappa, I mean, they are going to have that somewhat regularly. This is why Mox Opal should be banned. I think. I don't think it's even a close decision. I don't know why they unbanned this card. At least they're tapped out every turn. And just hoping to fade some artifacts. Every artifact they play is going to deal like 6 damage to me, 7 damage. All right. I will once again evoke my Fifth Amendment right against taking 5 from Kappa Cannoneer. I think that's actually more like Third Amendment. Okay, and then in 2 turns we can actually pay Ward. I could bolt this in. Yeah. Okay, so right now, if they top deck artifact, artifact, I take 6, and then I take 7, and I'm not dead. But if any of those are 2 artifacts, then I am dead. I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons. Actually, yeah, I think I want to take out Mox Opal. All right, I'm gonna drink more bone hurting juice and hard cast. Oh no, I don't have green. Oh well. Well, too late now. I don't have 2 green, but I can draw green. Once again, my terrible cycling coming back to bite me. 5. I'm dead in 2 hits anyway. If they don't draw an artifact, they can't even attack unless they're willing to lose their Kappa Cannoneer. Yeah, that bad cycle choice I made in the first turn of the game biting me here. What are they drawing that is not artifacts or lands? It must be counterspells or more Kappa Cannoneers. Yeah, so anyway, I haven't really been playing much Living End. I'm not really enjoying Modern too much at the moment, but I did qualify for an RCQ with Merfolk. I was bashing my head against, well, I qualified for the RC at an RCQ. I was bashing my head against the wall with Living End. They let their Mox Opal die, which I don't think they meant to do. Uh, and I was just losing to combo time and time again, so I decided, well, that is an unblockable Kappa Cannoneer. I decided screw it. I'm tired of losing a combo, so I just built anti-combo Merfolk and I was able to win an event. No blocks. Well, if I would have cycled better, actually, I think we win this game. So this one's not on Kataki, this one's on me. Or I could just get Misty Rainforest, that works too. All right, I'll try to get a land this time. Basic forest, evoke. Do they have a counterspell? It doesn't matter. I can't pay with Mistrise Village. They could counter this. They don't. This is not a spell, it's an ability. So I just have to pay the ward. Yes. They should probably sacrifice it to gain life. They don't. Next turn I can cast Generous Ent, make a food token, hit the opponent to 1. I'm a little surprised they let Mox Opal die. I'm not supplied that they let Mox Opal die. You know, I'm developing a speech impediment. I swear. Okay. I don't think they meant to sack their Mox Opal. Let's see. Do I want to bring in Mysticals to fight through their blue cards? I think actually yes. I think I'm going to just give up on Endurance and bring in Mysticals. Do I want to go down on Force of Negation? Take out a Street Wraith. Street Wraith is a little bit painful. And for anyone wondering if I have a sideboard guide available, no, not even close. I need a lot more time with the deck before I'm willing to write something that I think people should do. To me, this is a totally different format. Also nice Force of Negation in my opener. I can ditch this. Probably Shardless Agent. Well, I don't know. They could consign a Cascade trigger. What are they going to do here for 1 mana? Looks like Emissary. Yep. All right. So I think I'll go after Mox Opal and pretty much nothing else. Tormod's Crypt, I do not care. No longer a graveyard deck. I mean, I sort of am if Kataki ever died. I guess I should have left Turtle in to get Kataki back. So yeah, the old school sideboarding versus Affinity, you take Turtle out because your graveyard is likely to be Tormod's Crypted away in response to a Turtle activation. Okay, not the worst turn 1 from our opponent. And by worst, I mean like good for them. Like worst, I mean, you know what I mean. Not the best turn 1's, probably more appropriate English. Yeah, anyway, I just haven't been feeling Living End recently. There's too much hate for it. They took a lot of the problems out of the format, and I feel like people just had, like, what do I do? Like, where do I put all these sideboard, spots? And they decided on Cascade hate, which is understandable. Emery could be a problem. I've got my colors situated. I'm actually just going to get Island and try to look for subtlety. Well, that's almost a subtlety. It flies, and it's 4 mana. Let's see, what did they put into their graveyard? Nothing that bad for us. obviously. I'm gonna start this turn with the cycle. Ooh, or yeah, I'm going to just save myself some life. This drone token, I think I'd actually rather take out drone token than Tormod's Crypt. That just saves me some life. Although it did cost 2 life to do. If I have to sit around taking a beating from a flying army here, I'd rather it be smaller. Opponent has 3 lands and 2 artifacts. They are rebuying their bauble. I don't know. I'm kind of glad they're not rebuying a Pinnacle Emissary. I'm waiting to fire off Force of Negation on anything annoying. Thoughtcast. Oh, no, you don't. This isn't the best board to deploy Kataki on. But it does occupy their mana at least. I guess I'll just shove. I'm choosing to do Charlotte's Agent so I at least get a creature. And I don't want to let them untap. They're tapped below that improvise spell right now. If they untap, even if they do, even if I outburst in their draw step, now they have enough mana. Whereas the only thing that counters this is like Swan Song or whatever it is, Strict Serenade, that both make the same token. So I will also have to be paying for my Shardless Agent for the rest of the game. Small price to pay for mediocrity. But now the opponent has to tap their lands. He exiles my graveyard. Okay. He could also just simply recast that Tormod's Crypt, so not the not necessarily the end of Tormod's Crypt this game. All right, the opponent is out of artifacts. I don't know if that's a win or a loss for us. Regular Pinnacle Emissary. I could also just let Shardless Agent die. Well, no, not next turn because I'm going to play tap land, but the turn after that, I think I could just let Shardless Agent die and get this flyer into play. Opponent has made a drone token. They've also made 3 artifacts to pay for. 4 artifacts to pay for. No, 5 artifacts. All right, Kataki's getting better. His stock is going up. Also, I probably should have left Endurance in the deck because that way if they kill Kataki, I can put it back in. But I actually don't think that's that important of a consideration. Because of cards like Tormod's Crypt. Yes, pay. Do not destroy my creature. Don't need Street Wraith. This is a 3/3. It will not be attacking. I think I might block with Shardless Agent, though. I don't really want to pay for it every turn, and I also don't want to take 3 damage every turn, so I can at least not take 3 damage for a turn. I like how Claws of Gix cost life. He is keeping his flyers in play. We'll see what they prioritize. Well, he or they or MK RoboPepper. Alright, they're out of mana. No, they're not. They have 2. You cannot use Sink into Stupor to pick up your own Kataki because this card only targets things opponents control. Nuts. Okay, so I don't think I played this sideboarded game 100% perfect, especially game 3, but it's looking like Kataki's just going to get flown over the top of anyway. So I have to play Curator next turn. Also, I do have to go somewhere soon. I wish opponent would play a little faster. Block like I said I would. No more upkeep trigger for me. Go to 10. Hopefully, Curator does a Merit Lage impression here. Okay. That's kind of nice. Drone, this creature, this token can block only creatures with flying. Alright. Well, get in there. Hit them with Kataki. Hopefully I don't regret that attack. I can take 5 next turn, probably 4, because I doubt they attack with Emery. Can block this if they choose to attack with it. Opponent's got to sort out their triggers again. Okay, they kill all but 1 flyer, which I'm okay with. I'm almost a little bit surprised they're letting Pinnacle Emissary stay around in the face of a 4/4, but we'll see. If they have free artifacts here, they could cast a Kappa Cannoneer. They need 2 free artifacts. They need 1 more free artifact. Probably going to find it with that Thoughtcast. Welding Jar, kind of a useless card, except it makes 2 mana for Kappa Cannoneer. It appears they do not have a Kappa Cannoneer. Alright. I'm not going to hurt myself with Oliphant. I'm just going to cast another Curator. In order to get mana, I would have to hurt myself. And I'm gonna keep Sink into Stupor in hand. I don't believe I need to play it. And I think I'm actually the control here. I don't want to give my opponent an opportunity to just race me with with their very limited board and mana situation. Now that the tables could turn, they have one turn here they could top deck Kappa Cannoneer. They didn't have it last turn. They could have cast it. But if I untap with Sink into Stupor, then I can return it from the stack to their hand, which would be nice. So it's funny. So Kataki War's Wage, all artifacts have at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this artifact unless you pay one. The actual card Meritly, or no, Tabernacle, even though it's worded differently over the years, it actually says destroy. And so you could welding jar your thing to save it from pain. Just fun tidbits about a format I don't play with cards I don't own. Alright, their opponent has done their sacrifice ritual for the turn. Urza Saga, a little bit annoying, although they are low on time. Any artifact they make, they just have to pay for. Okay, Arcbound Ravager is pretty bad, but I can bounce it. So what I can let them do is sack a bunch of stuff to it and then bounce it. Hopefully, if they don't have any counter spells. Okay, they could have an interesting attack here with Arcbound Ravager. They choose not to attack. I don't know. I think I might have attacked with a drone token if I was them. Maybe. Okay, Forest. Going to Mountain Cycle. Not with a blue mana. I'll scry here. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because I'm going to land search, although both of those cards might have been nice. Get a Thundering Falls. I'll top Wistfulness. I think that's good enough. That can stay on top. Continue not attacking. And this is nice. They have to pay mana to keep their creatures around. And so they're less likely to be able to hold up Counterspell for my Sink into Stupor. Not that they couldn't. They only need one blue mana. They do have 5 lands and 5 artifacts. All right, they're using Arcbound Ravager in the way that I thought they might. Okay, so they actually didn't sacrifice too many permanents to Arcbound Ravager. I'm going to maximum block. They only have 17 seconds left, so I think we should be good. I mean, they've just got to swing and then attack, or they got to put everything like on an unblocked creature. I don't even think that would kill me. All right, we did it. So it's unclear if I was going to win this game naturally. I think the Synchronous Stupor was going to do a lot of work. Um, but that's just the fortunate part about Magic Online is you have to have a winner. You know, I was at a Star City Games playing an RCQ and they had a sudden death elimination rule. I went to game 3 in sudden death against somebody and I killed them on turn 2 with the Tone Blast. But fortunately, Magic Online uh, has a chess clock. And so, you know, 8 minutes, 48 seconds, less Magic we played than they played. Anyway, round number 2. Round number 3. I don't think I'm going to subject you to that previous match. Nothing to do with this Curator Mysteries right now. I wonder, do I want to keep this? Let me think about this. I can just Living End, but it's better if I Living End with Curator in my graveyard. So I'm slowing down my draws by a turn to keep this blue land, I guess. I do kind of want to draw towards like a Force of Negation or an Endurance or a Subtlety or something, which is why I was apprehensive to leave a Breeding Pool on top of my deck, even though in general I need blue mana to play. I actually don't need blue mana to play this hand right away. So that's what the pause was for. Just go ahead and shock that in. Opponent leads on Meticulous Archive, which makes me think it's some sort of Goryo's deck or it's blue-white control. This is not a great hand really against either one. Alright, now they're making me think they're like Jeskai Blink. But double tap land, that seems like more like something Control would do. Lorien Revealed. I think this is Control. Alright, that was a pretty bad draw. I'll give myself a chance to find a land cycler right now. This is the last free mana I have for a while. Okay, Force of Negation backup is pretty sweet. Beats almost everything but Consign. And this isn't really a ton of damage. It's only 10. So it gives them time to Supreme Verdict or something. Okay, that's probably their last land in their hand. Otherwise, you'd play something else out, I think. Well, let's do the old Force of Negation protecting living end trick. This is what was so good. It got the card Violent Outburst banned originally. Orm's Chant, no thanks. I prefer to cast spells this turn. They could still have Counterspell. Cast Living End, which is the second out of 3 left in our deck, or second out of 3 in our deck total. Wouldn't it be funny if I drew the third Living End right now? You guys, wouldn't that be hilarious? No, alright, we didn't. Good. It wouldn't have been hilarious, actually. It would have been tragic. I think I'm going to keep this Besage You. It's like my only out to a Scepter Chant lock. And if the opponent has Supreme Verdict, I'll go crying to my pillow. Well, I was going to do that anyway. After this round, it is pretty late. Two living ends in the graveyard. Endurance would actually be nice now. Narset, Parter of Veils. Narset, leave those veils alone. They should not be parted. Narset gets, let's see. Oh, I should have known this was control anyway because they have Kahira. Narset reveals Flow State. Pretty good draw. I'm going to send 2 creatures at Narset. Because if I send 1 creature and they Solitude it, that's really bad. And at least if this hits it with just the Charlotte's Agent, they can't minus it again. I'm still going to keep this Besage You. I realize, oh no, actually no, I'm not even passing up the opportunity to play Subtlety because I only have 1 blue mana. Yeah, so that's another reason not to play the Besage You. Flow State, okay. Now I am 1 damage short. I realized that last turn I could have gone everybody at the opponent and I would have lethal this turn. But like I said, if they recover with a Planeswalker in play, that's like really bad. Whereas this is only 1 extra turn. Like I'm paying 1 turn to not ever have to deal with that Planeswalker again. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to Teferi, bounce Curator. I guess I can then attack Teferi to death, so fine. And then if they go to cast a Planeswalker next turn, hopefully I'll draw a blue land. I can Subtlety. I personally would have bounced the 4/4. But I guess they don't want to give me a blue card. See if I can draw something to do here. I'll top that. Alright, now I have Force for the Scepter. And they didn't have a Solitude last turn, so I'm going to treat them like they don't have anything to deal with my attackers right now. Alright, Teferi down. Maybe could have just won that turn, played a little conservative, but I felt like I was in a good spot. Opponent casts Discharge. Which charge? Discharge. As much as I want to force that, this still leaves me with 6 power in play. So I'm going to let it resolve. Once again, why are they not going after Curator, which flies and does more damage? It's a mystery. Oh, they just didn't even, they just wanted the energy. Is this a verdict? No, it's Wrath the Skies. Okay, they just wanted the energy. Okay, that went well. I definitely want my Teferis. I definitely want Mysticals. And I think that's all that I want. Do I want something else to deal with Scepter Chant? I guess I'll bring in a Besage just for Scepter Chant. Hitting land drops isn't terrible. So I think I'll just have some, pardon me, I'll just have some bonus lands here. And then what is not as good? I guess Street Wraith. Pardon me. Ooh. I don't sound too good this video. Street Wraith, Street Wraith. Yeah, I realize Street Wraith draws cards. On the draw, I guess I can go down 1 int. Maybe I don't need this other Passaggio. I do want to have Endurance for the Flash plan. Maybe I want all 4. Nah, 3's enough. Street Wraith can come out. Waker's less important. Alright, this hand's pretty decent. It's got enough forces. It's got 1, that's enough. This hand would be so good against Neoform. Can you imagine? Opponent shocks in the Hollowed Fount. Ready to Spell Pierce me. They're probably going to cycle Lorien Revealed here. I can get blue-green. I can also get green-red. I'm going to get blue-green because I would like to cycle one of these blue cards. And these red cards can just rot, I guess, in our hand. This is one of my problems with Temur Living End, is that we have more... When I see a non-blue card in my hand, like, it looks like a pile of puke, because it can't do anything until you're actually casting it. And Modern has gotten to the point where if you're just actually tapping mana to cast spells, you're kind of a chump. Unless you're Eldrazi, because then your lands tap for 19 mana each. Alright, we'll get the Breeding Pool. Stranding our red cards still. There's another Force of Negation, that's pretty good. Maybe opponent will cast Teferi. Opponent cycles. Can't force that. 2 Lorien Revealed. Man, imagine if this had been a blue cycler from Lord of the Rings, which it should have been. Alright, so the opponent is getting tap lands when they could be getting untapped lands, meaning they either have Force of Negation or they have Orange Chant and they feel very safe. So, not under any pressure here. Well, let me rephrase that. Going for it this turn would be dumb. But another way to look at it is I'm not under pressure to make something out of this turn. I guess I could discard to hand size. That would be pretty sick. If you're wondering why don't I pitch cast Endurance, because I don't want to go down 2 cards when I only need to go down 1 card. getting rid of these Lord Revealeds doesn't do anything for us. Now the opponent is untapping with all their mana. I mean, I guess you always do. Can't seem to draw third lane. You know, this is exactly what happened when I tried to play. I tried to do a couple of the premier arena events, and I swear, like, go ahead. I was gonna discard it anyway. Arena does not feel like real Magic. It feels like it just picks who's gonna win at the start of the game. Because either I would keep a 2 or 3 land hand and never draw another land the rest of the game, or I would keep a hand that was absolutely nuts, do everything I wanted to do, and then the opponent would just have the exact answers for all of it and win the game easily, and like it wasn't even close. So I need to just quit playing Arena. I don't get along with that program. I guess I should have considered even taking these violent outbursts out of the deck. That's something I do actually against control. I just don't really know what I want to be doing yet. Why didn't I cycle? Oh well. I don't know why I didn't cycle. My brain kind of melted there. Yeah, they can draw two, whatever. I wouldn't have had blue mana anyway with this Mystical Dispute, and they're not really doing anything over there. I care more about forcing the things that are going to win them the game at this moment. Jeez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna actually pitch a force of. I mean, the thing is, if I pitch Endurance, then next turn if I draw a land, I can't cast it. So I'm gonna pitch Force of Negation here, even though it's a very good card. I have enough of them. I can still double counterspell here, or maybe even triple counterspell if I need to. I will counter this flow state. That's too many cards from our opponent. Alright, well, you saw it. Even though I forgot to cycle for a turn there, it didn't even matter. Hooray, we have steam vents. So now I'm going to just hold up hard cast spells. Opponent is very well situated over there. I don't feel very hopeful this game. And I think tucking their graveyard does matter now because I know they have flow state in their deck. Orange Chant. I'm just going to hard counter this because they might just quit playing Magic for the turn. And if they don't, I still have Force of Negation. That could have also just been total bait because they had 8 cards in hand. And they were going to discard to hand size. But that's not something I can risk because if they resolve to Fairy here, the game pretty much ends. We will not be Raveling anytime. Yes, I know that was a Shardless Agent. This game is less about cascading and more about me managing the opponent. Recall earlier in the game, the opponent felt totally comfortable tapping out, and they still do. So I'm not. Was that even this game? I'm not urged to just throw the Shardless Agent at them. Although it would make a creature, which is kind of nice. I'm going to cast Endurance here. Hope to befuddle my opponent's cards. Narset, yeah, unfortunately that's going to resolve. I have something to attack it. What do they reveal? Opponent reveals Teferi Time Raveler. Oh boy. Start chucking goobers at him. They could just counterspell this Endurance. Then I could draw land and Subtlety their Teferi. Need to draw a land here, though. If I don't draw a land, what do I do? Well, I drew the land, so I don't have to think about it. Hopefully they don't have another counterspell. I could have just shoved combo there. Maybe that would have been more wise, because that way I'm not dead to the actual card counterspell, although Force of Negation or just untap Supreme Verdict still gets me. Opponent reveals counterspell. Oh, dang it. All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just bank on my top card being Shardless Agent. Yeah, they have actual counterspell here. That's fine. I can't let this hit play. So, just going to bank on just the actual card counterspell. Or Shardless Agent being on top of my deck. I don't need to specify which one that is. Just Shardless Agent. Alright, well, goodbye. Alright, I thought of a better sideboard plan. Get all but one of these violent outbursts out. Just having it in the deck forces the opponent to respect it. And I think we're good with that. They could have High Noon. Maybe I want this other Boseiju as an uncounterable way to get rid of it. Sure, let's try that. Also, like I said earlier, Scepter Chant is a real concern. Alright, we get to go first this game. That's a pretty good hand, I'll keep. Some of you out there might be yelling at your screen, why would you take Violent Outburst out? That's the best card, they just unban it, that's why you're playing the deck. Yeah, that's true, but it is just kind of card disadvantage if they counter the Living End or consign the trigger. Against control, like we want to kind of go we want to be like ahead of them in controlling kind of early in the game, and then either punch through a Living End or like waste enough of their cards that the mid-range plan can work. Like you don't think of Living End as a deck that has to like one trick, like one shot cannon blast its opponent in the early game. Opponent went to 6, so we're already up on cards. Against control, you can lean on them as long as they don't get key problem permanents into play. So if they get a Teferi into play, that's very bad. If they get Scepter Chant set up, that's obviously very bad, which they're clearly playing because they have Days Undoing. If they get a Narset in play, that's not as bad, but it's not good. It's kind of medium bad. If you draw your Living Ends, that's also pretty bad. Let's cycle. And I'm going to play a tapped Stomping Ground. I could go up to 4 lands here and use Mystical as a bad version of Force of Negation. It wouldn't beat the card Orange Chant, which the opponent's either holding up Orange Chant or they're holding up Counterspell right now. Play Mistrise Village. And we'll pass back to their turn. Opponent surveils to the top. Now it's time to make a call to our attorney, Chuck Goobers. Chuck Goobers is on our side. Now that's just what I call it when I cast Endurance and start attacking them. Alright, we got a counterspell out of the opponent. Well, we don't have a Cascade spell anyway, so can't really punish them. Sometimes I just forget I don't even have Cascade spells in my hand. Opponent has led with Orange Chant. I'm going to counter this. So if I play Endurance right now, yeah, I realize they can pay 3 for that, and then, my Mystical's counter, but then that wasted their turn. If I play Endurance right now, they can just go to Fairy, bounce it, and we're in like a really bad spot. Then if they just kill the Endurance, it's over. It looks like I have Force of Negation right now, which is why they're not doing anything. Although maybe they're second guessing themselves, because if I have Force of Negation, now I'm down 2 cards and they're only down 1 card. All right, we have wasted our opponent's Orange Chant. Big if true, which it is. So they clearly have like Counterspell or Force of Negation or something up. They did not feel confident that they could. They either just didn't have anything or they didn't feel confident they could survive, which makes me think they don't actually have Teferi in hand. But I don't see any need to deviate from the plan. Wistfulness is a little bit of I would say, a sucker card right there. Because if I slam Wistfulness, they slam Teferi. The game is now over unless I drew Force of Negation. So I want to just leave up mana. Flow State. How does their graveyard look? Instant sorcery, so we have to try to let's forsake a surveil here and blue, 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 green, green, green. I guess I'll just get island, make my next spell uncounterable, and cast Endurance. They could consign this trigger. That'd be a little bit of a waste of a consign, although they will get the card back off of Flow State. Ha! I turn their Divination into a whatever cost 2 mana to draw 1 card. Although Divination costs 3. I don't know. I don't know what the appropriate card draw comparisons to make about spells that are different spells are. Opponent could still just slam land Teferi. They don't. Alright, I don't think they've seen a Teferi yet. I'm playing like I have Force of Negation, but I think you'd still just slam Teferi. Nice. Alright, I was considering a Wistfulness there. No, I'm not going to. Teferi Time Raveler. This looks like Counterspell. One mana short of making this uncounterable. I think they drew it this turn. It resolved. I mean, they could consign this trigger, or they could just top the Teferi, but at least then I have creatures in play to attack him. Teferi can bounce exactly 1 creature for anyone who's watching this who somehow doesn't realize how bad Teferi is for us. They consign the trigger, okay, but I mean, I do have attackers now. Plural. Yep. Attack Teferi Time Raveler. If you could just hit Teferi, thank you. Alright, and I have seen enough. It is time for the King of the Goobers to be chucked. Draw 2. Discard Living End. Yeah, they could surgical that. Opponent immediately cast Days Undoing without any combo in hand. Alright, well, they're just about to turn 5 non-counter spells into... Oh, did I forget my land for Teferi? Huh. That might have been a big dum-dum. Big dum-dum moment. Oh well, we're still doing alright. I think I brought it in. Shocking the Steam Vents, that gives me 6 full mana. Opponent has Supreme Verdict, which cannot be countered. Actually, let's do this the intelligent way. Let's use the broken rare land that is in my deck and return Supreme Verdict to their hand. I just feel safer with Supreme Verdict in their hand. Don't ask me why. If they had a Solitude here, that would be a little bit obnoxious. Teferi Time Raveler. Well, can't do anything about that. Opponent bounces Wistfulness. I can also Odawara Teferi if I need to. I could just attack the opponent, but I would like to use my mana. Or no, I would like to use my cards in the least card disadvantageous way possible, if that makes sense. So I can cycle Curator right now. I think I'd like to draw a fetch land. Mystical Dispute's okay as well. I'll just leave it at that. Discard, whatever. Discard Endurance. I'm not going to cast Endurance on my turn when I just put Supreme Verdict in their hand. Opponent casts Narset, Parter of Veils. I'm going to Mystical this, because that will take them off of Supreme Verdict mana if they pay it. And like, how much more is Mystical going to do? We know they have Supreme Verdicts in hand, and they're just adding more lands to the board every turn. Looks like they just choose to pay it, which I'm okay with. All right, they have paid. Opponent must pay. Hoping not to see Scepter Chant here. Orange Chant, you say. To shreds, you say. Let's go ahead and cast Endurance. I'm a European now. What does my graveyard look like? I'll just target the opponent. Knock them to 1 or kill Narset. Okay, they're going to kick Orange Chant. I could Waker here and draw Force of Negation. I can also draw Mystical Dispute. I think that's good enough. They weren't. Oh, they were dead because they fetched. All right. See, you don't even need to cast Living Ends to beat control in a long game too. All right, round 4. This hand doesn't quite do anything, so I'm gonna cycle turn 1 and look for a tap land. Mm. All right, we're kind of off to the races, I guess. Thundering Falls. This could be a number of things. Could be Storm, Prowess, Zoo. Force and Endurance are good against all of those. All right, kind of running out of things to do here. This is a scenario. Oh, it could be Living End also. This is a scenario where if I think energy is more prevalent in the metagame, I'm probably mulliganing this hand. All right, it's the mirror. Hooray. This matchup can take a minute. So I'm in a position where I can't really do much, but I also can't really get bullied that well either. Another Force of Negation. I'm actually going to play that tapped. Life Total could be an important resource here. Alright, lucky opponent's hitting all the land drops. We could use a green land. Is the opponent also out of lands? Aha. I'm going to try to hit some lands. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another Endurance isn't bad. What should I do here? I think I'm just going to discard the Violent Outburst to hand size. What did they exile? They exile Generous Ent. Alright, so they could protect a Living End with Force of Negation. So they need to have Violent Outburst, Force of Negation, Subtlety for this play not to work. So here's what I will do. I think I'll ditch Subtlety. Now if they want to do a Living End, I mean, my board's going to be way worse than... No. Yeah, my board's going to be worse than their board. I think I would counter a Living End. The problem is this Generous Ent in their graveyard. I really can't attack through it. Actually kind of worked out that they let me just discard a card there. Or do something with my cards besides just discard it to hand size. Opponent's playing like they have Violent Outburst. Okay, they're Shardless Agent. Now I just need a green land and I can Cascade. Just a regular old Endurance. Unfortunate. I have to let that resolve, I think. Well, this hand could have shaped up much better, but we didn't never draw a land, so. This is what I was talking about. Life total could get important. That 3 damage I didn't take from Spurific Springs gives me an extra turn here versus this Endurance. And now, unfortunately, the opponent doesn't have to do anything else to win the game. It's all on me. Hedge Maze, not a bad start. I could have kept that Curator, actually. Probably should have thought about that a little harder. Curator on this board attacks and blocks very well. Mostly just blocks. Okay, opponent is offering to get rid of their Endurance for me. Gonna let them cast the Violent Outburst. Go ahead and target the opponent. And if this still goes really wrong, I've got another Endurance and 2 Force of Negations, although I can only cast one of them. What are they forcing? Wait. Counter target non-creature. They're forcing their own living, and it's not a play I've ever seen. Counter target non-creature spell. Yeah, it doesn't have to be controlled by an opponent. Uh, no, I guess you can't force your own living end, buddy. That living end is resolving. They have another Force of Negation. Okay, I suppose, if you insist. What a turn. Okay, at least the opponent's graveyard goes away. That's not something you see every day. Okay, another forest here would be swell. I could also just living end. I think I'll do that. Stomping Ground. No, actually, shoot, I should have got Commercial District. I wasn't really thinking there. Man, what terrible play by me. Okay, they have Endurance, and they're hard casting it. Okay, the opponent just hard casted their own Endurance instead of pitching. I guess they couldn't. Yeah, I guess they had to do that to stay alive. Now I get it. All right, so ultimately not punished for that Stomping Ground trick. Although I could have kept a bad card off the top. Okay. Opponent's down to one card in hand. Let's see what they do. You gonna cast Living End? Living End on the stack will endurance their endurances away. Now I can untap with Force of Negation, which is an okay position to be in. I'm not going to put that Living End back in their deck. Probably should have put mine back, but I like having the creature in my graveyard. Now who's the beatdown? Ooh, Generous Ant. Could almost cast that. But we don't know if we're ever going to draw another land, so I'm going to cycle it. And this time I will get the Commercial District when it's actually better than it was last time. Don't need that. Where is Bro's mana? Okay, they can have a Wistfulness, I guess. Wistfulness is actually one of the ways they could come back. They do finally draw a land. Okay, I think I will be casting that elephant. Well, so if I cast the elephant and they kill it, I get back generous. If they live in it, I mean, I get back generous in Charlotte's Agent, and they only get back wistfulness at the moment. That could improve. They could like land cycle here, I guess, but they would have land cycled before. If they would have to draw a land cycler off of wistfulness. I'm just going to cast the elephant. Where's my elephant? Opponent goes to 9. They're dead even if I forget my elephant trigger. All right. That was a bizarre game. Definitely bringing in Teferi. 4th Endurance for sure. Do I want Beseiju just to take out Mistrise Village? I think I kind of do, at least for now. And we'll go 3 Mysticals. And then out. Gonna take out 3 Violent Outburst. 4 Street Wraith. I need to take out 1 more card. 1 Living End. Reasonable hand here. No white mana yet, but that's okay. We have time to find it. Have Endurance to buy some time. We have Riverwinder and Wistfulnesses. We have a Cascade spell, but that's actually not a super important part of this matchup. Let's see. I don't think I need that beside you. It doesn't actually help me with Wistfulness or anything. Like, yeah, it is a third land. I don't know. I want up better cards. Our free spells do a lot of heavy lifting in this matchup, as we saw in the last game. So even though it's good to hit land drops, I want card quality right now. Hedge Stomping Ground, you say? What kind of nerd has Hedge Stomping Ground? Alright, well, we're getting a little punished for not keeping that land. Big Bro is using 3 mana, but he doesn't have any creatures in the graveyard, so we're not very threatened at the moment. There's a Mystical Dispute. I think I'm just going to ditch one of these Shardless Agents. Unfortunate, they have Endurance here. Yeah, this hand didn't work out. That third land would have been real nice. They take out our Riverwinder. And now, once again, we are just sitting there like James Bond at the end of the Casino Royale movie and just gotta take it. Can I have a land, please? That's like a land. In fact, that's so much like a land that it pretty much is. Alright, good. I think for the moment, my plan is just to cast Endurances. Opponent cycles, our graveyard's still better. Opponent shocks in Spurific Springs. Okay. What are they doing over there? I'm going to shock in a Breeding Pool. They shocked in this Perfect Springs for no reason. I guess they have Force of Negation. I will cast in my Endurance and attempt to block. Opponent has free cast Subtlety after a long delay. I guess that doesn't change my play. I'm still going, well, no, it does change my play because they can just Mystical. Or they can pay for Mystical. I guess I'll let this resolve. I will put that Endurance on top, and then next turn I can play Teferi. Still gonna top it. I have Counterspell backup for my Teferi. I can still pitch cast Endurance. So let's go for Teferi. But it looks like they have Hardcast Force. Attempt to dispute that. And even if this didn't resolve, I still have goobers for days. Let's go up with Teferi. Don't be one of the people that minuses Teferi in a precarious situation. This is giving them something to do now, besides attack my life total. Alright, endurance backup is good. Or force backup for endurance, I mean. If Oh crud, I forgot to plus. Darn it. I was thinking about whether I should play endurance on my turn. Okay. Wow. Alright, we are testing the limits of misplays you can make and still win Magic games. Alright, opponent respects it. Opponent saw me not plus the Teferi, they decided they don't want to attack with endurance. Sounds fair. I mean, it was just going to get blocked, but you might as well attack. They knew about the endurance on top. Plus Teferi. And now that they can't do anything, I'm like super safe here, right? I'm going to put one, let's see. I'm like so safe. Is Charlotte's Agent generous enough to win? I'm going to use a Wistfulness here. Yeah, I mean, this is still probably just like plenty. I might be playing with my food a little bit here. But basically, opponent can't come back from this, I don't think. I'll just dump this Waker of Waves and then play Besage You. No reason to attack. They can just block. They could do something like bounce my Endurance with Turtle, although I could just play it. So this Teferi should be at 4, but besides that, we're in the same spot we'd be in. Alright, and now because I have Teferi in play, they can never do anything to disrupt me here. I'm going to attack first, see if I can get some free chip damage in. We're back to playing correctly after we take a detour through the wilderness there. Alright, opponent doesn't fall for it. Go ahead and Shardless Agent. I'll hang on to the rest of these cards in case they somehow come back, which they can't. Alright, round number 4. Sorry about that goof there. Alright, round number 5. We have a somewhat keepable hand here. And I was saying last game I wouldn't have kept that first hand if I thought we were in an energy meta. I might actually keep this hand if I thought we were in an energy meta. Force Negation is really good against them. But instead it's another Misty Rainforest deck. Have we been blessed with Living Emirs in 2 games in a row? It's kind of looking like it. Or Rhinos. I'm not sure who. Yep, it's just another. Well, I don't know. This could be Neoform in theory. Sometimes they play red for Xenagos. And sometimes they also. I mean, they do play 2 Generous Ents. So far, these are all things Neoform could have done, but I think it's Living End. Yeah, this is. Alright, Living End. What a great way to end the video. You know, the video kind of sucked at first. We got Affinity and we got Eldrazi. But then we got Control, which was nice, and then we got a Living End, and now we're getting a Living End again. So, I don't know. I feel like this should cost money to watch this video because these matchups are so good. Well, if Besage wasn't a Endurance wasn't a great draw, I don't know what was. What were. So this is a position where we're behind in graveyard. I've kind of shut up about my theory about how to play the living end mirror, but basically I want my graveyard to be roughly at parity with my opponent, if not a little worse. I don't want to overextend into an endurance, because all the work you do filling up your graveyard before the endurance comes down means nothing. It's after the endurance that means something. Let's cycle, I guess. They have 3 creatures, I can go up to 3. Actually, though, because I have all these free spells, but not enough really blue cards, I'm just going to hedge maze. Alright, that was a freebie. Didn't cost us anything out of our hand. Didn't cost us access to a blue card. I thought they were about to cycle or a violent outburst in my upkeep there. Alright, well I have to play patient here. I could endurance right now. But then I can't use force. So pretty much don't do things on your turn in this matchup if you can avoid it. You know, I'm qualified for the next RC. I'm thinking of doing the one in Los Angeles, but like I don't want to fly to Los Angeles and rent a hotel and pay for Ubers and pay for food and then go play a bunch of rounds against Eldrazi. But if you told me you're gonna get 2 out of 5 opponents is gonna be the living end mirror, I would say that sounds pretty good. Sign me up. Opponent is a knower. They know not to do anything too committal. Mm, now that they've tapped out, I'm going to see what I can get done with this endurance. And if they waste a card on this, I might waste a subtlety on that curator. Like, I'm kind of winning this damage race. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I'm winning the damage race, actually. If we just take turns turning our creatures sideways. And now that their graveyard sucks and mine doesn't, I can just slam my Curator of Mysteries. And it's actually not a big deal. Look at all these free spells. So bringing in the Beseiju just to hit Mistrise might have been a little bit of an overreaction. Boom, who's got Merit Lage now? I call this card Merit Lage because it usually actually, like if you hardcast it, it puts your opponent in really weird positions. I realized that Merit Lage is a 2020. Alright, I will block. Block Lesnar. Oh, the opponent's on 4-color main deck. So they're taking the same approach we are, it looks like, to their sideboarding, and they're just doing it main deck. I get it, that makes sense. I view the mana base as pretty good, but also extremely tight. The only thing I would think I would replace for a Temple Garden is one of my tap lands. So I would go down to 2 Surveils. What is bro doing? They're gonna Sky Turtle back their Curator Mysteries. Okay. They did it. And they cycle. That was a fancy way to cycle their turtle. Alright, Street Wraith. Their graveyard's calling back. Alright, now their graveyard's basically Better than mine. Drawing a lot of lands over there. I say it's better than mine because they have Colossal Sky Turtle, and I don't have anything that could take care of that. I do have Striped Riverwinder also. They get their second basic. Planet basic. Avatar basic. I don't know if I approve of that. I think your basics need to be somewhat related to each other. Okay. Do I go for the win? So we're kind of at a decision point here. I could go for the win, but it's going to cost me some cards. But I'm up on cards 6-4. Okay, I've convinced myself. It's going to cost them some cards too not to die. They have subtlety for my subtlety. I have subtlety for their subtlety. Now we're even on cards. And I win. All right, nice. If I had been behind or at parity on cards there, I don't think I would have gone for that because losing could have been backbreaking. But I had 2 cards to play with. All right. I'm going to change my tune a little bit. I'm not going to bring in Beseiju. Well, actually, I am going to bring in Beseiju now that I know that they even have White Splash. So now Beseiju has Temple Garden. They can never get it again unless they Endurance it. Or I Endurance it for them. And they have Mistrise Village. And last Endurance. Gonna do the same thing as last time. Take out 1 Living End. Drawing Living End is really bad in this matchup, and as you've seen, I haven't needed a single Living End to win 3 games in a row. Maybe I needed 1, but it was like the final step of the plan. Alright, we have Temple Garden to Fairy in our opener. That's pretty good, and I've got Endurance with the useless green card. Not that Violent Outburst is useless, but just look at my hand. It's probably going to be a pitch enabler. Drawing a blue card there was nice as well. Like I can almost do a Force of Negation and protect my subtlety with a or protect my Tip Fairy with a subtlety from a subtlety. Alright. Lucky opponent has a Striped Riverwinder in their graveyard. Now I do wonder, oh, they're on the Mountain Cycle. I do wonder if they're on the Inevitable Betrayal plan. I don't really believe in it in Rug versus Rug, or Bant versus Bant, because this is basically Bant right now. But I think it has legs against Sultai. I think it's reasonable, because if you get an Overlord and you like pick up Endurance, or you like pick up another shard, let's say, like, just getting an Overlord replaces itself. So I'm kind of okay with IB on Overlord. I have done it to great effect, but I could go either way. It's not a matchup I've tested extensively. Look how colorful this game is. All these colors. Who would play Eldrazi when they could play all the colors, children? If you're still watching this, post it in the comments if you think I should turn my webcam on. Might make some more friends at live events if people knew who I was. Might make some enemies. Alright, opponent taps 3. I'm gonna pretend like I'm digging, but I just wanted to do this anyway. I'll take that Misty, thank you. And I think what I want to do is force pitch Sky Turtle. Oh, they're just 4-color. They have multiple white lands. Didn't they have a Temple Garden last turn? All right, I could do a couple things here. I could try to slam my own Teferi. I could also just pass and hold up Endurance, which I actually think I'm going to do. Yes, I could slam Teferi, but it just loses to Force of Negation. Whereas I may draw Mistrized Village, I may draw Mystical Dispute. That would make my Teferi even better. Whereas if we just play Dueling Banjos with Teferi into Force of Negation, like I don't know if that benefits me or not. All right, let's go get blue and red. Opponent has Endurance. Okay. I'm good with that happening because I'm going to get my own Endurance here. Blue, red. Steamed Events. And now, by the way, the opponent's tapped out. They can't hardcast a Subtlety. They can't hardcast a Force. So now I actually might go for the Teferi because I can protect it with Subtlety. Can't protect it from Force. Can't protect it from Subtlety. Maybe. Ooh, I drew a Mystical Dispute. Huh. Is it Teferi time or is it sit around and wait for Mystical Dispute? I'm going to do this now while they're tapped out. So I know I just said I'd like to draw Mystical Dispute, and I did, but they have to have exactly Subtlety right now. Well, or Force of Negation. Next turn, they could hard cast Subtlety, though. Yep, okay. Which is better to keep? I think I'm going to keep Mystical Dispute. That could just counter some random creature they play. Because now they can't Cascade, so I don't really need... Wait, what? Did I click on my Teferi instead of Subtlety? Gosh darn it. Alright, I guess I'll top. I'm going to type oops in the chat. Well, y'all saw what I meant to do. Alright, the opponent has opted not to Violent Outburst. I wonder if they're holding up Hardcast. Yeah, I'm just going to wait for a land. And I'm going to use this Mystical Dispute to my advantage. I had protection for the last Teferi. I don't have protection for this one. Alright, now that they know I'll block, they've given up attacking. I'm just going to try to stick to Fairy. I'm a little bit peeved. Alright, opponent has Outburst to trigger Cascade. I can basically reset their board, though, to parity once I minus this Teferi. Sure, Living End. Have fun. Well, it depends on what they surveil here. I can't really handle more creatures into the graveyard. Alright, it's just a forest, nice. Oh no, they get back subtlety, I forgot about that. Done. I'm still gonna top that. Yeah. Alright, well, catastrophic mistake by me countering my own Teferi last turn. Probably not gonna be able to come back from it. I will block Subtlety, and then I'll try to play Teferi next turn, bounce Curator to give myself some time. And then maybe we can figure out something to do. Yeah, I know I have my own Violent Outburst. I'm not banking on that resolving. I'm not banking on them not having a Force or a Counterspell or an Endurance or something. So, but it has Sink into Stupor. I don't think so. Although that's the least offensive thing that's countered this Teferi so far. Finally, drawing a card is kind of nice there. Alright, so now I can Cascade anytime I want. However, they have Endurance Subtlety. I have Subtlety Endurance. That wouldn't really be improving the board. They also have Curator, we know about. Alright, never mind. They don't have Curator anymore in their hand. So I'm going to cycle Riverwinder. I'm going to let them attack. Oh, nah, I'm just going to do this now. Or am I? Yes, I am. That's the answer. Darn. Could have for sure had a land last turn, but 1, 2, 3. Could just let Teferi die. Nah. I really want to keep my Teferi around. Oh well, if I had some more bravery, I could have cycled and hit a land with Genersent. Opponent can still cycle. They cannot cast Endurance, but they can use abilities like Sky Turtle. Yep. All right, Endurance. They have to put their triggers on the stack first. I'm gonna get rid of their graveyard because it has a Curator in it. Normally, I like to let the Living Ends rot in their graveyard because it can run them out of options. However, not a huge concern at the moment. Ooh, they drew the Force Cycler for the turn. That's very lucky that they didn't draw that earlier. They have Temple Garden. Looks like they have their own. No, they already had white mana. Opponent has their own Endurance. They are now ahead on board. Well, start by plussing. How can I swing this in my advantage? I'm going to discard here, Waker of Waves. Alright. I can just survive the current turn, and then I can do a big living end next turn, maybe. Don't need that. If they only had one white source, I might keep that. So next turn, Teferi dies no matter what. So do I want to just send with a Riverwinder right now? Get damage in? No, because then I'm a bounce spell away from losing the game. Alright, so my inability to contain myself with this Teferi has put me in a situation where now I just have to start slinging haymakers and hoping one of them knocks the opponent out. That's not the situation I prefer to be in against Living End. I like to be a controlling style of deck because I think we're well set up for that. Everything is coming at Teferi. Ooh, okay. What kind of opportunity do I have here? Teferi dies no matter what. So now, because he's not threatening my life total, I'm just going to put maximum chumps in the graveyard. I don't want to block with Riverwinder. And I kept this in generous in case I need to do it after the Shardless. All right, so if I attack with everything, then Living End has to resolve or else I lose. If I don't attack with everything, that only delays the inevitable by a turn, so I'm going to take a risk here and just send and then hope that my Living End resolves. Wish I had my Mistrise Village. And then obviously Generous is hanging out in case they Endurance me. Opponent goes to 6. Hey, it worked. Done. Actually, I will top the Shardless Agent in case I need to do it again. They could Living End. I'll put it on top. They could Living End me, and then I would turn around and Living End them again. Oh, no, you don't. That 2 life is mine. 3 life. Man, I've got to go to the bathroom. I hate these long matches. Opponent casts Subtlety for 4 mana. Yippee-ki-yay. I have 2 subtleties to block it with. Alright, if they sling Subtlety at us, then I think they have... Well, I'm gonna block it. That's looking like one... That's looking like they have a Living End. Okay. I'm not going to use my fetch land or my generous int because I have Shardle Sage on top of my deck. So we'll just go ahead and let this happen. And they have endurance, I have endurance. Oh man, this is getting messy. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. Um, it is what it is. No, I was thinking about that. We reset the graveyard, and then yeah, so I think about things and then I say something else, but the thing that I did is what was right. Put that on top. I would like that in my deck. Put on top, sure, why not? I don't think I'm missing any attacks here that I want to make. If the last one resolved, surely this one resolves. Alright, opponent drew nothing. Let's go. No, cancel. Just attack. I guess I could have wistfulness there pre-attack. I'm just gonna hardcast wistfulness. I realize this could get flipped by a living end, but the reason I'm doing it is because now I can like discard something and I at least draw cards out of this. Ironically, I can't cast that. Alright, I'm back. Let's open the chests. Let's see. 195 play points, that's pretty good, isn't it? Ooh, nice, we got an Oculus. Could actually use that. And a Violent Ultimatum. Thanks for watching, everybody.